which Marvel characters would be the most useful in a basketball game? That's right, we're gonna figure that out. Hi, I'm Nando, and on this channel, I make videos about movies, comic books, comic book characters, all that. We have a Nando v Movies Discord, and every so often, a question will come up on the Nando v Movies Discord server. And sometimes I want to answer them because I think they're fun. This one specifically comes from the Ask Nando channel, and here's how it happened. So first, Billy W22 suggested, as a joke, that, I mean, maybe, who knows? At this point, Doomsday could be anything, but that Doom's secret weapon is the greatest wizard in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Pangborn. For people that forget, I think his name was Jonathan Pangborn, is the basketball player who Doctor Strange meets because it turns out his legs were broken, he couldn't walk, but then he used magic to heal his legs so now he could play basketball. It's a very silly kind of character in this movie because it's like, wait, but you can do magic and you're just using it to play basketball, like pickup basketball? You're not even a professional? Anyway, we actually do see that character again because Mordo goes and finds him in the post-credits and we haven't seen him since. So like, fun idea. I always like reminding people that Pangborn exists. I believe this character is played by Benjamin Bratt. So I replied, oh man, I wonder who's the best basketball player of all the good guys. Have we seen any of them play sports? Keelback of the Serpent Society said, in Latveria it's called Doom Hoops and Victor is the best at it. Then Billy W22 said, Seer Orr's plot reveal. It's Marvel Space Jam. Best basketball players from across the multiverse. Then Joju997 simplified it and they asked the question, if you were space jammed and had to build a team of Marvel characters, who would it be? First of all, this makes me feel very old, but I'm probably gonna have to explain what Space Jam is. This was a movie where the Looney Tunes got captured by some aliens. The aliens took them hostage. By the way, Marvin the Martian is an alien. He's not one of these aliens. He doesn't know them. Bugs Bunny and the Looney Tunes, knowing that the aliens, the Nerdlucks as they're called, are short, trick the Nerdlucks into believing that it is the law of Toonland or whatever, that you can only take over if you win a basketball game. But then the Nerdlucks go and steal the talent from NBA players, which turns them into the Monstars, big evil basketball monsters, and the Looney Tunes need to recruit Michael Jordan, the real guy. This whole thing was based on a commercial. It's weird, but like real life Michael Jordan goes into Toon World and plays basketball. And it becomes this kind of Harlem Globetrotters thing where obviously it's kind of the same rules as basketball, but the Monstars are able to use their incredible Monstar abilities, and the Toons are able to use whatever they can put together. So like any weapons Wile E. Coyote would have, any superpowers, like Taz can turn into a big tornado if he wants. And in the end, Michael embraces his Looney Tuniness to dunk the ball from half court, and then they win. There was a second one of these involving LeBron James and an evil algorithm played by Don Cheadle, which, you know, because of how much ground AI is covered in the last couple of years since that movie is out, maybe it is more fun now, but it wasn't very good. I wouldn't worry about Space Jam 2. So Billy says, Nando, please make a video on this topic. I said, okay, I want everyone else's suggestions and I will judge them. And remember, it's only 4 people since you also have to play, which is the rule Michael Jordan has to play. I guess technically he doesn't have to play, but he does. So I just want to go through some of these picks. I'm going to judge how well I think they would do in a basketball game. I am not a basketball expert. I'm a comics expert and barely that. But you know, here we are. Right, but first one I got back, and this was just kind of an idea Billy brought up, was Galactus or Arishem the judge for dunking. I need Pangborn because that's an instant win, and that's my team. 2, maybe 3 guys. So my only problem with that one is I don't know if Galactus or Arishem the judge have the competitive spirit necessary to win at a sporting event. I feel like they would think it's below them, and Arishem the judge, even though he's not like a watcher, it still feels like you have the same vibe of like, I cannot interfere in this game, I just have to decide who's the best one. Now obviously, having Pangborn is a great idea because he's one of the only characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe who has ever played basketball on screen. We'll get to maybe if 1 or 2 others have as well. So it's a fine start. Big guys, right? Basketball is a sport for the tall. But then we get a bunch of like 4-man squads, and usually some of them come with explanations. So Garter of the Serpent Society, by the way, the Serpent Society is like a thing in the Discord. These are their 4, counting themselves, of course. Prodigy, because he could absorb basketball knowledge from all the greats. Unis the Untouchable for defense. Mr. Fantastic, because they did an entire ad in 2000 movies about how good he would be at basketball. And Cersei, because she could turn me into someone who knows how to play basketball. That is definitely how that works. So Prodigy, great. Prodigy is kind of what the Monstars are doing in the movie. Stealing the talent. Prodigy is a mutant who's able to copy the knowledge of another person, and sometimes he can store that for like unlimited amounts of time. Sometimes, I think originally there was like a proximity or time limit. By the way, for the purposes of this game, he would have as much skill as all of the best people put together in that room, so that would be really useful. That's a good one. Unis the Untouchable for defense. So people that don't know Unis the Untouchable, he was an early, also Unis, he's his last name is Uniscone, so I guess it should be Eunice. Either one sounds dumb. Unis the Untouchable is a mutant who is able to create force fields, specifically force fields around his own body, so he is untouchable. Not bad. I do think there are some other force field characters in Marvel that would play a little closer to what basketball is. However, he would be a good guard. Mr. Fantastic, absolutely. Mr. Fantastic was on my team too, mostly because that is how Michael Jordan wins Space Jam. You would want somebody who can dunk from half court. Also, Mr. Fantastic would be great for blocking because, like in Marvel Rivals, he could turn his body into a big square. Mr. Fantastic, depending on like how fun the comic is being with him, can do a lot of things. He's also like virtually indestructible, which is handy in case the Monstars are going to try to kill us, which they do hurt a lot of the tunes during Space Jam. And then Cersei, because she could turn me into someone who knows how to play basketball. Okay, so first of all, that's not usually how Cersei works. She can transmute things, but adding knowledge to your brain probably isn't something she could do. She could maybe make you like really tall so you would be extra good at basketball. I don't know. Is there a mutant or any Marvel character whose superpower is the ability to transfer skills from one person to another? I mean, that's kind of what Sabra does. I get into it a little bit in the MCU Mutants video. She can give people powers, but I still wouldn't say she can like transfer powers. I guess you would need someone who is a reality warper to just turn you into a great basketball player. And I like this answer because first of all, they thought about who would be able to do what, but B, it's not just like the biggest or toughest guys, it's guys that have specific skills that would be useful in basketball. So I think for a first one, that's okay. Next one, we have Keelback of the Serpent Society. They have Spider-Man for jumping, climbing, and web swings to intercept, Taskmaster to copy the best players on the other team, Dr. Doom. Doom is trained in all forms of the arcane, including balling, and Bullseye, who can kill the ref if things don't go their way. Okay, let's start with Taskmaster. Very good. Taskmaster has photographic reflexes, which means if he sees you do something, he can do it. Now, if he sees you play basketball, he can play basketball as well as you just did. One thing with Taskmaster is if he was playing Michael Jordan or something, he wouldn't know what Michael Jordan can do until Michael Jordan had already done it. So you would be able to take him off guard that way. However, he does also sometimes retain the knowledge of just things he's seen. So if Taskmaster just watched the greatest basketball game ever, or just the Space Jam movie, he would have all of that knowledge himself. So that would make him an asset. Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom's tricky. Doesn't feel like a team player, right? He's a ball hog. However, he is good. Like, I would want him on the team because he would be able to produce points. I don't think he would help with morale, and I don't think he would ever pass the ball to anybody. If anything, I think he would pass the ball to himself. He would like throw the ball, teleport, catch it, like in the very, very beginning of the first X-Men movie where Wolverine goes to the X-Mansion. He's being shown around. Like, I think Doom would figure out how to do that. Or maybe he'd just have a team of Doombots, maybe 4 Doombots or 3 Doombots and 1 Doom. That could honestly be a pretty good team. Bullseye to kill the refs. That is how Bullseye would do that. Bullseye could make any shot. He could turn anything into a weapon, which means in theory, he could throw a basketball from anywhere into a basketball hoop. However, maybe the real asset that Bullseye brings to the table is that psychotic nature. However, he would have to kill all of the refs because if he only kills one, then he'd definitely go to jail or get a foul or something like that. Oh, and Spider-Man. Okay. So Spider-Man just overall has a lot of skills. Very strong, very fast, can jump really high, like I said, can web swing, although like it's unclear how useful that would be inside of like a basketball arena, but still he could like pull himself, do like a web zip from one side of the court to the other. Someone's gonna bring this up, so I'm gonna just find this now. Yeah, Viola Cola said, Spider-Man, specifically Andrew Garfield, because he's canonically good at this. Correct. Andrew Garfield plays basketball in his movie. He dunks the basketball so hard that it breaks the rim. It's incredible that everybody in his universe does not immediately go, oh, he's something. Something's up with him. And then when Spider-Man shows up on the news in a couple of days, like, oh, that's definitely who that was. That's why Spider-Man was at our school. I don't know. But for that reason, I think Spider-Man hugely valuable. Also, Spider-Man could be great on defense because of his spider sense. Could warn him if someone's going to, like, you know, do a crossover move or something like that. Maybe could kind of let him know when he needs to block the ball, although I don't know if it's that proactive. But Keelback, I like this team. I think this team is good. Crystal Maiden Punk said, Bullseye, The Wall, Stiltman, Batroc the Leaper, and Spot. You don't even need to explain any of these guys. Bullseye, obviously, sharpshooter. Again, also kind of a psychopath. The Wall is a Spider-Man villain who is just a walking wall, potentially good for blocking. Stiltman, very tall. Batroc the Leaper can jump really well, and then the Spot can teleport. Now, I like the Spot's teleporting because a couple of people will bring up teleporters. Some teleporters can teleport themselves, but Spot could easily put a spot near where the ball is and then put a spot like right on top of the rim, and then the ball will just go in there. Whereas like Nightcrawler would need to take the ball with him. Spot could direct it, which would be handy. Next one, Gary says, Hawkeye for point guard, Bullseye for shooting guard, myself, I'll die for small forward, Hulk for power forward, you need someone big, and then Reed Richards for center. That's a very balanced team. I wish you could do this without Bullseye because Bullseye is just such a bad person that like he doesn't feel like he would work on a team, especially with Hawkeye. Hawkeye and Bullseye hate each other. The other question is, who's in charge of this team? Is it you? Because then, you know, that's something. I don't know if like Bullseye would listen to Reed Richards. I feel like Hawkeye is the best position to lead that team because Hawkeye has led teams like the West Coast Avengers. They're just made up of a bunch of different guys, but I don't know if he's going to be able to manage Bullseye. And then Gary says, on the bench, Spider-Man, you got to be worried about him going out of bounds traveling. True. If the web goes out of bounds, even if you're just swinging on it, does that count as out of bounds for you? I don't know. If your shoelace goes out of bounds, does that count as out of bounds? Probably not. They also said Doom to replace Hulk when he goes out on technicals. That is a good point. However, I do think it's interesting that so far, and I'm sure someone will bring these up because I've not read all of these. I imagine the next step after Hulk is Juggernaut or Blob, right? Because they're the unstoppable big guys. And there's quite a few characters like that. Again, only thing with Doom is the ego. It's gonna be tough to manage that ego. That is a tale as old as time when it comes to basketball. They also say Blink and Kitty Pryde to get around the court. Yeah, Blink is another really good teleporter for stuff like this. The one thing about Blink, I think, is that she needs to throw the teleportation means to do a teleport. So if she was fully being blocked by someone, I don't know if she could do that, but then Shadowcat being able to just walk through people, super useful. However, can Shadowcat dribble a basketball while intangible? I'm gonna say the answer is no. I feel like you have to let go of the basketball. So unless you're pivoting through people and then dribbling, I do think she would lose control of the basketball or lose it in someone's leg as she's running through them. That would be interesting, I guess. And then the last one, Victor Wembanyama to replace Reed. They can both reach about the same height anyway. Yes, that man is quite tall. I did not know how tall he was. This is a real basketball player, but look him up. It's wild. All right, Billy W22, Bullseye because he can't miss, Kate Bishop because she's good from a distance, Pangborn for obvious reasons, and Madison for team spirit and might be a good defense. So Madison's interesting. I do think team spirit, morale, is important in a game like this, especially if you got someone like Bullseye on the team. I do like having Kate Bishop here. I think one of the things that gets forgotten, especially in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is how good Kate Bishop is at stuff. She won all kinds of martial arts and fencing championships. I feel like she could probably also shoot a basketball pretty well. And she feels like while she might sometimes do her own thing, she would listen to whoever's in charge of the team, which in this scenario, I'd have to assume is Pangborn because he has the most experience just with basketball. And this is another thing with Bullseye. I'd be worried he's just going to break the rule, if he's just going to travel or things like that. Again, this is why he needs to kill every ref at once. Because if there's one ref to call foul on him, I think he does have to leave. Viola Cola, aka Riverjack, they have Nightcrawler for teleporting the ball to the hoop. Spider-Man, specifically Andrew Garfield, because he's canonically good at this. Kate Bishop to explain the rules, and then Lockjaw, because there's no rule a giant and human dog can't play baseball. Love this. And something I also really like about this, all good guys. Most of these teams that we've talked about before have Bullseye on them, even though I do think Hawkeye is about as good as Bullseye at this. Right? Especially in the MCU. Played 18, shot 18, I just can't seem to miss. If you could do that with golf, Hawkeye can sink any basketball shot. Spider-Man, I think, is good. Nightcrawler's good for a couple of reasons. One thing about Nightcrawler that I really like is, and I don't think this would come up very much, if he's in shadow, he is functionally invisible. So he could sneak up on people, especially if there's really big people casting shadows. They wouldn't know Nightcrawler's there. And also, he's very athletic. He's got the tail. I think the tail would be really useful for moving the basketball up and down the court. And then Lockjaw, you have another teleporter, and this was always the thing with the Airbuds, if you're on the other team, need to start boxing out and maybe fouling a dog, especially Lockjaw, who would be huge. Also, there's people who just would not want to potentially injure a dog in a way that they would be fine with injuring a human. And I understand why you would want to do that. So I think Lockjaw could actually be really useful here. I wonder if anybody's going to come up with a list that's just all the dogs, because you could do Lockjaw, Cosmo, Pizza Dog, and Miss Lion, along with yourself, obviously. And then you have a full Airbud team. And one of them is a telepathic telekinetic, which is useful. One of them hangs around Hawkeye. They probably picked up some skills. Miss Lion is nice. And then Lockjaw can teleport. So I don't know. That's actually not a bad team. All right, so we got Wine of the Serpent Society. This is a good one. Get Morph. Wild card plus funny tune plus can be anyone. Glob Herman. I just think he's neat. Big, gross to throw people off. Spiral. More arms seem useful. I would have said Doppelganger, but they're too mindless, and I don't think Doc Ock would be allowed to bring his. NFL Super Pro. The skills are probably transferable. Then them. I don't know how to play basketball. I'm 30 and my knees hurt. They also mentioned I would have said Taskmaster instead of Super Pro, but Keelback got there first, and my team can't afford a transfer. My first reserve pick would be Combo Man, provided he is allowed to eat combos before the game. A couple of characters might need to be explained there. Morph first. Genius pick because they have all kinds of abilities. They can copy abilities. You probably saw them in X-Men 97 season 1, where they had turned into the Hulk and the Juggernaut and Magic and Psylocke. And also, and I think this is pretty important, Quicksilver. Because not only can Morph take on the physical attributes of someone, they can also, it seems, take on some of the superhero elements. Because Yes, the Hulk is very muscular and he's like big and strong, and that's why he is able to punch a Sentinel, right? If you copied that, all you would need to do is just copy the muscles. But with Quicksilver, like, he doesn't run fast because his legs are really muscular. He runs fast because it's his mutant ability, and it's just kind of like, you know, the X Factor does it, which means Morph can kind of copy those, which is useful. Also, I like having someone with a cartooniness to them on this team, and I love that this is not Deadpool, because Deadpool would make sense in the same way, but I like that Morph would bring that Looney Tunesiness to this game, because the way that the Toon Squad beats the Monstars is by embracing their tooniness and doing something that the Monstars can't expect. So Morph would be able to do crazy things, and that would catch the Monstars off guard. Glob Herman. Okay, Glob Herman is an X-Men. He is a fan favorite X-Men, even though he doesn't really do too much when it comes to like fighting Apocalypse or whatever. He's mostly like a friendly guy who is in the younger class of X-Men and is a translucent, gooey guy. You can see his organs, you can see his eyeballs, and he's friendly right now. Apparently likes to cook. That's kind of his thing. Storm kissed him once because he's such a good cook, and it's like, ooh, good. Reasons Glob Herman might be good. He's somewhat flammable. I don't think that would really come up here. He is, I think, kind of durable because of his globbiness. I don't know if he could like post up and you could use him to block someone. I don't know. He might be good for that. But I think the thing I love about Glob, and why I think this team is actually starting to look pretty strong, good teamwork. Morph and Glob are good teammates. People like them, they like each other. Very good. Spiral. I like Spiral. I really, really like Spiral. Not just because they have 6 arms, which they do. They're one of Mojo's henchmen. They're Mojo's main henchmen. I'm sure you've seen them before. They're pretty memorable design. But they can also like teleport and do magic, which is very useful. Again, even if they're not the best teleporter for this, they're still a teleporter. And it's handy to have one on your team. And like I said, doing magic, and like magic's, you know, super broad, but it's good to have somebody on your team that can do magic. The other thing about Spiral that I think is interesting, Spiral understands competition because Spiral was created kind of, she was hypnotized and like her mind was destroyed, but like born anew on Mojo World, which is the reality show, game show planet. Like Spiral would get competition and maybe strategy in a way that some of these other characters wouldn't. NFL Super Pro was a character designed to be a superhero who had all the skills of an NFL player. So like running and jumping. I honestly have never read a comic with Super Pro in him, but I've recognized him from a mile away. Combo Man, this is a very interesting one, was I believe a marketing thing by Combos where they made a guy out of a bunch of slices of guys, and he had to guess what slices were what. And the idea was he was like powered by Combos. So he is another character like Morph who has a lot of abilities. Okay, so I had to look up a list because some of these I knew, and then I was like, I'm going to be wrong about some of the rest of these. So here's how he is top to bottom. Hulk, obviously. Cyclops, obviously. Iron Man, obvious. Magneto, nobody's picked up Magneto yet. He could fly. Basketballs aren't magnetic, but the hoops, maybe they are. And then maybe, I don't know if there's a rule, like in the Airbud situation, that you can't just pick up the basketball hoop and just use it to, you know, catch the basketball. You know, it's like a Punisher, Captain America, Sabretooth, peak physical specimen. Carnage would be great for this because you can use tendrils and make all kinds of weird stuff. Daredevil, heightened senses, useful. Spider-Man, obviously useful. Someone called Sentry, I've never heard of this character before. They must have another name. Either way, Human Torch, good. Silver Surfer, great. Silver Surfer so fast. And he has all kinds of powers, but besides just all of the other ones, he's fast. And I do think very few of these lists have included a speedster, and I wouldn't say Silver Surfer is that, but like that is something he brings to the table. It's very useful. And then Gambit is the one at the bottom, which I was having a real hard time figuring out. Gambit's good at throwing things. I think his natural skill set would work here. Let's learn about Sentry a little bit. This is the beginning of Sentry's Marvel fandom page. There's a quote about Sentry. So this is who Sentry is. I will not explain it any further because I don't know his deal. Apparently it's from Forceworks, that book from the 90s. My name is Sentry. For longer than I can remember, I have traveled through space and time, a mariner on the tides of light. My battle staff, Parallax, navigates my course, calculating the vast distances and opening gates in the fabric of space for me to pass through. I am a construct, an artificial being of manufactured flesh and blood, into which has been woven 100 different minds, providing me with 100 times the experience, knowledge, and skill of a single individual. My empathic link with Parallax keeps those jostling minds in ordered sequence. My name is Sentry. Of that much alone I'm certain. My long odyssey through spacetime has eroded my memory and left me without a clue as to the nature of my past. I do not know where I came from, or why I was made, or even the name of my people. I was cast upon this blue-green earth to live amongst the strange human race and learn their ways, I know not why. Now a dark specter from my yesterdays has returned, and with it, the opportunity to leave my foster home Earth and journey into the stars in search of my past. The voyage will not be comforting or without dangers. Okay, so a couple things we just learned about this guy. Teleport, good. He has minds of hundreds of people, so if one of them was like a master strategist, that would be handy. Look at this, we just learned a new guy. And yeah, his thighs make up combo, man. Let me see, NFL Super Pro. It's like, I really don't know what this guy is besides just like, is good at sports. So Phil Grayfield, once an aspiring football player. His career ended when he saved a child from falling and suffered a knee injury. Then he became a reporter, interviewed a scientist. The scientist designed a new, almost indestructible football uniform, which has to be molded on the individual basis and costs $5 billion to construct, so it is worth a fortune. So if thieves try to raid his house, Grayfield, who is tied up and helpless, knocks over experimental chemicals, which, in combination with the fire and ultra-rare football souvenirs going up in flames, do not incinerate him, but turn him into a near-invincible superhero. Okay, so this guy probably has really good powers. That's pretty fun. It's been at 13 comics. Honestly, that's more than I expected. So yeah, right now, Wine of the Serpent Society, I think this is maybe my favorite. Then we have JORC1025, said Taskmaster, make him watch a bunch of games beforehand, and you can do that, you can prepare. The tunes could prepare, so that would make him very useful. Steve Rogers, Captain America, it makes sense. Peak physical condition, also a good leader. Bullseye and Spider-Man. I think Cap, Bullseye, and Spider-Man are gonna have some trouble. Like, I don't think they'll have great teamwork. Cap is one of those characters, though, that can inspire villains to be good, and like, they won't listen to anybody, but they will listen to Captain America. I don't know if that counts Bullseye. I feel like Bullseye is maybe even too lost for that. Last one here, this is from Joju997. Bullseye and Mr. Fantastic are no-brainers. Viola pulling Nightcrawler is a great call, and I like Gardner using Prodigy because he'll automatically be the most skilled player. But for the challenge, I'll build a team with none of them. The Thing. He absolutely was good before he became a literal wall, great defense. Yeah, you know what? I feel like he is an athlete. He's portrayed usually as kind of a jock, so I think he'd know how to play basketball, and I think he would be good for defense because he is a literal brick wall. Then you got Manifold. How do you not have a teleporter? Also, Manifold specifically teleports things where they need to be, and I'll need to make a lot of dunks. So Manifold is another mutant. He's related to Gateway, who's an older X-Men character. He does teleportation, but he like bends the universe into itself to do the teleportation. So it's pretty extreme. He can get you and anybody anywhere. But yeah, he can also get things to where they are needed, and if the ball needs to go there, then he can help for that. Then Ant-Man. Having a size changer would be good, and there are three options here. I think I'd pick Eric O'Grady because I need someone who's going to be able to cheat to keep up with the aliens, and he's the most scrupulous of the Ant-Man. I assume, Jojo, you meant to say least scrupulous? Because yeah, Eric O'Grady is the least scrupulous of the Ant-Man. I also believe, I'm not positive about this, I think his suit could fly. I think it had like little jetpacks that made it possible to fly. Although the Ant-Man powers make no sense, and like, can he jump really high because he has the proportional strength of a guy? Because if that's the rules, when he becomes giant, then he would like float away into space because he would lose all that density be spread out over. So I don't know, the rules of him are complicated. I would say out of all the Ant-Man, I would expect him to be the best at basketball. Just because Hank's a nerd, so it can't be him. Like, I'd say him and Scott probably have pretty similar skill sets, but I like having Eric O'Grady. But he also, like, even though he's a bad guy, he will be a team player. So like, I think if the Thing is your team captain here, I think Ant-Man, Eric O'Grady will listen to him. And then last, we have Jean Grey, the best balance of psychic offense, telekinesis, and defense, telepathy, for dealing with the game and the metagame. Love this one. And I love the idea of a psychic because reading your teammates' minds can be super helpful. You can also control minds, right? Like Jean, I'm pretty sure, can make you do stuff as well, which is why it's so weird that like that is just one of Karma's powers. But yeah, like Karma can like possess you, but like Jean Grey can do that plus like a million other things. Telekinesis reminds me of the time the X-Men play baseball in X-Men Evolution, where Jean is the pitcher and she uses telekinesis to throw the ball. And if she does that with basketball, really hard to block. I also think she's a good leader. She's led the X-Men plenty of times. I still think I would want Thing here, partially because I think he's the oldest, but also I think he can do a lot of different things. Like, he is very durable, but he's also very flexible. So he could play offense as well. I mean, one of the Monstars, I don't remember any of their names, but the orange one is pretty much the Thing. He's got the same kind of frame. It's the Charles Barkley one, I believe. And unless I missed one, I think that is everybody that I've been able to find here. So let me read you mine, because I did also put one down. I suggested Hawkeye for accuracy. I think accuracy is important. I think Hawkeye's going to be as good as Bullseye, and he's not going to be a killer, although the killing can be valuable. The other character for accuracy I didn't really think about was Scott. Cyclops has not only the ability to create concussive blasts from his eyes, channel solar energy and turn into concussive blasts, he also has like a secondary mutation kind of that's like perfect targeting. So like Cyclops can bounce his optic blasts from like one thing to one thing to one thing to one thing to get something like super out of the way. And like, I think that would be really useful for basketball. Read for stretching. Again, I'm a simple man. I see Space Jam, and it's a game that is won by stretching your arm really long. She-Hulk for meta stuff, because Looney Tunes are great at that. So I do think She-Hulk, Deadpool, Morph, you want somebody who has some tooniness, and you want someone, and I think really She-Hulk and Deadpool are the only two of these, who's seen Space Jam, who knows what Space Jam is, who can explain it to the other guys. Because like maybe I could explain it to them, but I think it would be helpful to have someone like She-Hulk. Also, like, She-Hulk's an incredible athlete. And then my last one, which I didn't see anybody pick, and I'm kind of surprised, was Wanda for defense. So I think there's a lot of options for defense, and there's like big guys and immovable guys, super fast guys. I'm surprised at how few speedsters there were on this list. Like teleporters I get, because teleporting's almost better than being a speedster, but like, I don't know, being a speedster has value. But Wanda specifically has probability manipulation powers, or at least she used to back in the day. She still could do it if she wanted to, which means like if it is a jump ball, if there is a free throw and it's like, oh, is it gonna go in? It won't go in because Wanda can will it so. The other character that I would want for that same reason is Black Cat, because Black Cat, and you know, she has been in a movie or something like that, so people don't know too much about her. She has the ability to inflict bad luck upon people. So the same way Domino is lucky herself, Black Cat makes you unlucky. So if you were playing basketball against Black Cat, you're gonna trip on your shoelaces, you're gonna airball it, it's gonna be brick after brick after brick, and there's really nothing you could do about it because she's not even a mutant. Like, at least with Scarlet Witch, maybe you could say like, oh, I'll get Leech to nullify her powers, but I don't think you could do that with Black Cat. My other character that I think you need to add to one of these is Rogue. I don't want this to be a rehash of my who do you have fight for you video that I made a while ago, but like the part of the problem anybody would have facing the monsters or anyone is the fact that you don't know what they're gonna do. So you would want someone who can counter everybody, and that's Rogue. I think the other version of this is Sync. Sync is a mutant who is able to duplicate a power that is near him. So if say someone had like incredible strength and they were using that to like destroy your team, Sync could match that and be helpful. But what I love about Rogue, besides the fact that she's super strong and can fly, is that she can take your power from you. So we're playing somebody like Prodigy, and it's like, oh man, how are we gonna outthink Prodigy? We really can't, but if Rogue can manage to get close enough to him to steal his power, not only can she now think as fast as Prodigy like can't do that anymore. So I think Rogue is super valuable. My immediate strategy would be Quicksilver and Rogue, or Makari and Rogue or something. I don't know who's the fastest person in Marvel Comics. I think it's Makari. Maybe Spectrum, she's also very fast. So yeah, maybe Spectrum, but then I'm realizing, oh, there is a character that's faster than all of them, and that's Tempo, who's a mutant who has the ability to stop time. It's like functionally kind of what Quicksilver does in X-Men Days of Future Past. There's a couple mutants that do this, but like Tempo is just the first one I can think of. You go Tempo first, she's the only thing she needs to do, which is run over to Rogue, and then just give Rogue all of her powers. And then Rogue can use the Tempo powers to neutralize anybody we're worried about. And I do think the one thing with Rogue is she does become kind of a liability. Maybe those minds can take her over, and then but like, I think that is really helpful. The other characters that I'm surprised I didn't see anybody pick, guys like Cannonball, Sunspot, I think we've seen them play basketball. Gambit plays basketball sometimes in the cartoon. But then Sunspot reminded me of a character in a Marvel comic named Isa the Unbeaten, or Iska the Unbeaten. I don't know how this name is pronounced. But her power is she just cannot lose. And Sunspot takes advantage of that in X-Men Red in a very fun way. And like, it would be no fun if everybody was like, I would pick Issa the Unbeaten and then 3 other people. I don't know if Issa is a mutant, so I don't know if you could steal her mutant ability. And I don't know how she would go up against a Wanda or a Black Cat, but I still think she's probably the best one. But based on what I'm seeing here, and I don't think there is a correct answer, but I think the characters that keep coming up that I think are useful: Kate Bishop, Spider-Man, Morph, and then Manifold, the best teleporter, potentially. Yeah, I mean, Magic's a pretty good teleporter, and she's pretty cool for a lot of other reasons. But you know what? I'll say Manifold is probably functionally the best teleporter in Marvel Comics. So yeah, that's the correct answer, I guess, as far as the Discord said. If you're not on the Nando V Movies Discord, you should get on, because it's fun. We have fun conversations like this. And who knows, maybe I'll talk about your suggestions for something like this in a video in the future. Again, thank you to Billy W22 and Joju997 for like crystallizing this idea. And speaking of ideas, you know what's a really good idea? Watching my video about who should be the bad guy in the first MCU X-Men movie early, because that's going to go on YouTube eventually, but right now it is on this video's sponsor, Nebula. You guys have heard me talk about Nebula before. It is a subscription streaming service that I helped to create. A bunch of us video essayists, and I don't like call myself a content creator, but like content creators got together and were like, hey, these platforms we have to work with, they're great, but they have some problems. And the big one is we wanted to just make great videos, give them to you guys. We wanted to make a nice, clean, well-organized place where you can go to watch all of our videos. They all go up early, so every Nando V Movies video and Nando Cut video go up early. They're all ad-free. You can download them to your phone, which is a feature I don't hear nearly enough people talking about, but is incredibly useful. Like if you don't want to have to eat up all your data or deal with the Wi-Fi at the gym or something, download some videos, you'll have them with you. The videos on Nebula are all made by real people, and that didn't used to have to be a selling point, but now I think it might be the best selling point. There's also all kinds of cool videos you can only find on Nebula. Like Lindsay Ellis makes videos almost exclusively for Nebula. One of her most recent videos was about Bluey adults, and the one after that was about dash cam footage, so it really covers a pretty wide spectrum of things. Then you've got short films like Patrick Williams' Dinner Plan, or series like Maggie Mae Fish's Amy's Dead End Dream House. And you have what we haven't like fully announced, but will be coming out sometime next year, our show Subliminal. It's our first like dramatic series. I wrote an episode. I think it's pretty good. I've seen parts of it now because it's like coming together and been edited and all that, and like it looks great. I can't wait for you guys to see it. If you want to support us, give us more opportunities to do cool stuff like that, and you want to see our videos early, ad-free, download them and see other creators on Nebula, because all of your favorite creators and your next few favorite creators are on Nebula right now. Like there's something for everybody. And a yearly subscription to Nebula is $60 for a whole year. That is $5 a month. But if you go to go.nebula.tv/thenandocut, or the link in the description, or you use the QR code, you can get a year of Nebula for just $30. That is $2.50 a month. It is an incredible deal. Again, that is go.nebula.tv/thenandocut.